would you say are the number one, or maybe you can list the top few reasons that people are looking to move property management companies? And I think this is a very important question for property managers, because they need to, insightfully think, well, how can we keep them?
The one key factor for me is communication. Communication is key, especially when it comes to people leaving organizations. And it's one thing that I've found, and I coach and advise candidates on a regular basis. Like, lack of communication or just clear, detailed communication, for me, is the biggest reason people leave, because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's happening in an organization, and quite often information is kept to the higher ups, and they don't want to disseminate it down because they think that's how it should be. And it's the opposite, in fact. If you had a kind of a level organization where people had access to all levels of seniority and executives and could have those conversations, like, communication fosters innovation, fosters trust, fosters kind of safety and comfort in a workplace. If people know what's happening, they can make an informed decision rather than making kind of a gut reaction, which a lot of half the movements, I'd probably say, are down to that.
Welcome to the Mastering Property Management podcast. I'm your host, Jared Sarbit. Join me as we delve into candid conversations with industry experts to uncover their strategies and insights for achieving success in property management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, let's elevate your property management skills together. Hi, everybody. This is Jared Sarbit with Mastering Property Management. Today, I have the honor and privilege of having David Little on. David Little is the co-founder and director of Foresight Recruitment Group. David is a very well-known person in the industry. Everyone I speak to knows him. He seems to know everyone in the property management industry. So I'm super, super excited to have you on, David. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, Jared.
Yeah, awesome. So David, if you can go back and tell me your story, some of the major milestones along the way, as far back as you're willing to go, what got you into property management or the recruitment world of property management, and why property management, and why Foresight Recruitment Group?
Absolutely. So I started kind of over 10 years ago back in the UK, kind of my first proper job outside of university. Fell into it much like most people doing property management. It wasn't a plan to go into recruitment. It just kind of happened that way. So I worked on kind of blue collar maintenance trades in the UK, spent about 4 years doing that prior to moving over to Calgary in 2018. From there, I pretty much kind of moved straight into the property management world. From there, I was with my previous company, Hayes, for kind of nearly 9.5 years, 5.5 of those spent in Alberta, in Calgary, looking after kind of the property management side of the business for Alberta. Obviously cut my teeth there, obviously learned a lot, and ultimately went out on my own in January of this year. Kind of decision to do that, kind of unshackling as it was, kind of getting rid of the handcuffs and being able to just kind of do what I know makes me money, or do what I know benefits the industry. Because a lot of the kind of KPIs and a lot of reporting obviously has to go into larger corporate worlds. And for me, I'm not that sort of person. I'm very much a kind of fly by the seat with my pants. My word is my bond type individual. And working for bigger corporates, you can't always work like that, especially when you have kind of set rules across the board. So Foresight was launched in January with my business partner, Nick. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Best decision I ever made. Very freeing, kind of being able to be my own boss, kind of make my own decisions, kind of live and die by kind of my culture, my ethos, and same with my partner, Nick. Kind of the company is us, we are the company, and kind of, everything we do is just kind of common sense recruiting, as it were, and kind of in the best interest of the client. So if something goes wrong, we can just address it in whatever way we seem is the best approach to it, really.
Yeah, amazing. Congratulations. It takes a huge leap of faith to start a business. So congratulations to you and on your entrepreneurship journey. That's huge. Was it pretty scary for you to start at the beginning, or did you already know that you had the skills, and did you have all the confidence that it was going to work, or how did it feel when you first started?
For me, it was never really kind of the scared factor. I know for my wife, my business partner, his wife, and kind of family and friends, everyone's like, oh, well, this is your income. If you don't make it, obviously you're out on your arse, as it were. But for me, it was, I've always had confidence in what I do, kind of the way I work with individuals, the kind of the service I deliver, and kind of just my ethos of kind of always do the right thing at the end of the day. So I had kind of in essence, like supreme confidence in my own ability to do it. And because I'd been working in the space for so long, I had like a large network of kind of clients and candidates who I was pretty confident would kind of move with me should I go and set up my own business, because I didn't really have any competition in the industry. It was kind of a few other people dabbled in there or kind of were generalists that kind of supported it, but no one kind of quite like me that sat in that industry for that amount of time. So so when we officially launched it, it was very exciting. Still feel like I'm in that honeymoon phase, but and it's been wonderful. The response I got from so many people in the industry of just support, kind of if you need anything, you know where we are. If you need some office space to work out of, like, feel free to come and use our boardroom. Like, I'm currently sat in BOMA Calgary's boardroom at the moment because I'm working out of here today, working on a project with them, and I've got a few meetings this afternoon which I'm going to pop to after. So just the overwhelming kind of support I got from everybody was very humbling in terms of, like, you always think, am I doing a good job? Am I delivering a good quality of service? And the response I got for the affirmation of that was cringeworthy, because I don't take compliments well, but also very humbling on a positive side of things, because it did really show that I was kind of setting up that kind of reputation and that culture for me and my business straight off the bat.
Yeah, it's amazing. And by the way, I'm 14 years into my business, and I still feel like I'm in the honeymoon stage. So nothing changes. It's always feeling that way. So but that's amazing. That's so exciting, and you don't hear those stories too often, where right off the launch, 6 months in, and you're just like, no regrets, full forces ahead. That's super exciting. Congratulations on that. What are some of the traits that you bring to the table, David, that makes Foresight Recruitment such a strong business?
Traits from me, I'd probably say go hand in hand with my partner Nick as well. Like, we're honest to a fault. We kind of have that British sense of kind of bluntness. We just call it how it is, say what we're thinking. We don't kind of sugarcoat things. We don't beat around the bush. So no one's ever kind of unaware of where they stand with us. We'll always give kind of honest feedback, and we usually back that up with kind of facts and figures as well. Like, I've always been brought up with the mentality of just do the right thing, have empathy, support individuals if they're struggling. Obviously, do what you can to just basically help them out, and that follows me through from my personal life into the business life. It's just do the right thing. If there's an issue comes up, you deal with it in a common sense way. You always do what's best by the client, because you never want to burn any bridges. And again, it's a small bump in the road on a long journey at the end of the day, and there's going to be plenty of other times to kind of to make up and deliver anew. So from our side of things, like, we are the business is us. Our reputation, say, we try and make it precede us by just being, say, honest, open, empathetic, and just vulnerable as well. Like, people ask you how you're doing. Oh, I had a terrible weekend. The kids didn't sleep. We had this, we had that. Like, just let people know that you're human, because at the end of the day, our business is a relationship business, both in recruitment and in property management. Like, people will work with people that they like, that they know, and they can have human conversations with, and that's kind of how we do business and what we bring to the table, in essence.
Amazing. No, that's really good. What's the market like right now? For recruitment into the property management world? Is there a huge shortage? Is the talent pool strong, or is it weak? And what does it feel like I think you're in Alberta and BC, is that right?
Yes. So I cover Alberta from Calgary. My business partner Nick covers BC from Surrey. So you'll always have, in terms of the market on what we're seeing, there's always going to be ebbs and flows, different times of years. Like, in our industry specifically, kind of bonuses get paid in March. People start to kind of look for greener pastures at that point, or they have some time off during the summer period with their kids and realize, after my vacation, I don't necessarily want to go back to what I was doing before. So there may be a bit of an uptick kind of through the summer period towards kind of August, September, October, when people go back to work, kids go back to school. And there's always kind of, it's a cyclical cycle. Different things can impact the market at different times of year. Like COVID, for a prime example of that, 3-4 years ago now, like, I did more retained searches in the first 9 months of COVID than I did in the prior kind of 5-6 years of working in the industry, because the factors of companies letting go of their HR staff or talent acquisition staff, then they didn't have those individuals to kind of go back to support them on refinding individuals who left. But I'd say the market is always buoyant. Our industry is a tight industry, like 5 degrees of separation in property management. It's probably 2 degrees of separation in each city. So everybody knows everybody, which is great for kind of me getting my brand and my reputation out there, because it's a small industry. It's a small knit and tight knit industry as well. So in terms of like movement, like we're always going to be candidate short for the time being, because we are kind of a ghost industry. No one knows we're here. Like most people fall into property management. They don't actively choose to go into it. Now, there are certain companies and institutes that are trying to change that, like BOMA trying to change that. I know Haskell Business School, Westminster Centre at UFC are trying to change that. There's different courses coming at MRU, McEwan University. So there are a lot more courses now coming out than there were kind of 5-10 years ago. But until people know that the industry is here and what it can offer, we will always be kind of in a tighter market for candidates. But it's a domino effect. One person moves, they go to A goes to B, or B goes to C goes to D. It's just a domino effect, and it keeps moving around. So there will never be a low period in our market, because you have the third-party side of things where companies buy, or they win or lose properties. The ownership side, people, they buy and sell properties. So there's always going to be movement, because the market is never going to be stagnant. It's never going to be stable. There's always property being built. There's always being bought, being sold. So it is tight. But again, the more people we bring in, the less, or the looser it will get in terms of candidates availability. But it's no worse than we're seeing in other industries, especially not the construction industry, where they just can't get the trades for love and money and get people in there, because we all know that's a huge issue at the moment, trying to build more houses.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a great answer. What would you say are the number one, or maybe you can list the top few reasons that people are looking to move property management companies? And I think this is a very important question for property managers, because they need to, insightfully think, well, how can we keep them? So why do people generally move?
The one key factor for me is communication. So communication is key, especially when it comes to people leaving organizations. And it's one thing that I've found, and I coach and advise candidates on a regular basis. Like, they don't always know everything that's happening. So they could go to their hiring manager and say, I need support in this area. The hiring manager goes, no, or their line manager goes, no, we're not focusing on that area. We're focusing here. This is where we need to put our time. That individual thinks nothing's going to happen. They get disgruntled. They look to move, hand in their notice. It turns out they were actually next on the list to have support in that area. Or once the hiring freeze was done, they were going to support them, or they had other plans in place. But lack of communication, or just clear, detailed communication, for me, is the biggest reason people leave, because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's happening in an organization. And quite often information is kept to the higher ups, and they don't want to disseminate it down because they think that's how it should be. And it's the opposite. In fact, if you had a kind of a more of a kind of a level organization where people had access to all levels of seniority and executives and could have those conversations, like, communication fosters innovation, fosters trust, fosters kind of safety and comfort in a workplace. If people know what's happening, they can make an informed decision rather than making kind of a gut reaction, which a lot of half the movements, I'd probably say, are down to that. Other reasons, kind of just personalities. Again, no one's going to get on with everybody. There's always personality changes. Leadership changes is another thing, especially when a new leader comes in, changes the status quo. And then, as we already kind of talked about as well, kind of the buying and selling of properties, the winning or losing of portfolios on the third party side. They're kind of the key areas that we see. And then probably finally, I'd probably say salary expectations. Not every company can pay the same. Like, there are certain companies that are outliers in the industry that pay far more than others. But again, that depends on the assets that they're looking at. What's the class? What is the type? What's the location? Is it office, industrial, retail? Is it downtown? Is it suburban? Is it A class, B class, C class? Like, everything differs. There's no generic in our industry, which is why I like it. Every day is a school day. There's always something to learn. And I think that's why a lot of individuals in the industry like it as well. But I'd probably say those are kind of the four main areas: kind of communication, personality traits, kind of clashes, leadership changes, and then kind of the turnover of properties within the industry, and salary.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Very cool. Kind of already touched on this, but emphasizes building relationships and delivering honest and transparent services. I've spoken to you a few times now, and I can tell you're very transparent, very upfront, very honest, which is a lost art these days, and I think a lot of people really appreciate. How do these values translate into your day-to-day operations and interactions with clients and candidates?
In all honesty, I don't treat it as business. Like for me, everything is personal because it's as I mentioned before, kind of I am the business is me. So the reputation I have is the same reputation as the business has. So I treat every kind of client or candidate I have kind of on a more of a personal basis. So it's not transactional. It's not numbers and figures and this and that and the other. It's kind of how's the family? How's life? Any vacations going on? It's the same conversations I would have with any of my friends' family. And I actually have a number of individuals that I've kind of connected with over the years that I'm now firm friends with. Like me and my wife went for dinner with a candidate I placed and his wife probably 6 weeks ago for dinner. And we caught up with them and they're coming around for barbecue. I'm going out hunting with them in the summertime. So like I catch up with quite a few of my clients and candidates on a regular basis outside of work because like, people are people at the end of the day. Everyone's got a personality. Everybody kind of gets along pretty well with everybody. And that's what I try and do. I try and turn my kind of business relationships into personal relationships and just build that level of trust. So how it kind of transcends into the business area is like you treat everything personally. So again, you don't take things personally into if anything bad goes wrong. Like that's just business. But in terms of the relationships and the transactions you have with people, everything's a personal transaction. Like how can I exceed the expectations having me? How can I do that extra little bit that will help you out? Can I offer you some information or some advice that, yeah, it may not benefit me, but it will benefit you? For example, on that, I had a client come to me who's looking for a property administrator. And they said they were kind of struggling to get the roles through the door. They had a few people that had come through, but they were asking, well, do I have anybody else that I can suggest? And I went through kind of their job ad with them and discussed it and said, well, first and foremost, there are 7 different companies at the moment looking for administrators. None of them have got the salary banding on it. Put yours on it, first and foremost. Get yourself to stand out from the rest because their salary banding was very competitive in the industry above what other companies were paying. But no one knew that from seeing the generic ad. So I advised them on that first and foremost. They then went and put it out with the highest salary bracket that everybody else was paying, and they actually managed to find somebody. So it didn't make me any money at the end of the day, but I know that client is going to trust me and come back to me in the future if they're really struggling for something because I've given them some solid advice that has actually helped them out and worked for them. And that's the benefit I have of working for myself. Yes, I know I could go and do certain things and make more money for myself, but at the end of the day, if I can build a relationship and have a client for life and they come to me for the next 10 years rather than 1 year on this one opportunity, I would rather build that for longevity than build it for the short-term gain.
I love that. And that's, you put the words in my mouth is what I was thinking when you said that, is you're playing the long-term game, and building those long relationships for years to come. And that's huge. And, a value add and being an authoritative figure, like an expert in your industry goes so far, and not looking to make money on every transaction or every piece of information that you give, but just building that value and giving them those tools so they can be an expert in what they do just goes so far. So it's clear that you're very good at that. That's awesome. Am I right that between yourself and your partner, you have over 20 years combined experience in the recruitment industry?
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So awesome. Nick and I both started about 2 months apart back in the UK. We were in offices that were no more than about 20 miles apart. So he covered the white collar side of the business. I covered the blue collar side. So we had very similar clients. Worked together across the board there. I moved here in 2018. He actually reached out to me in the summer of 2018 and followed out and went to Ottawa in 2019. And we both did real estate for the entire time that he was in Ottawa. He then moved to Vancouver and took on the accounting side within real estate and managed a national team within that. And it was by pure chance that we actually decided to go into business together. Long story short, or short story long, whichever way you look at it. I'd got my PR about a week or 2 weeks before we were due to fly to the UK for a 4-week vacation. And my wife's got her card in 10 days, and we went by the fact of, my card should be here pretty soon. Went back to the UK 4 weeks later, still hadn't arrived. So I had to had to fly across to Seattle and then come across the land border because you can't get into Canada by any commercial means unless you have your PR card once you've accepted PR. So Nick at the time, because I'd known him for so long, was in Surrey. He drove down at like 11 o'clock at night to come and pick me up from Seattle airport. Drove me back over the land border to stay at his that night, and then I flew back from Vancouver to Calgary the following day. But he was a bit disgruntled where he was at the time. I was not overly happy where I was in terms of how things were changing, and I made a flippant comment at about 1 o'clock in the morning at the Canadian-US border of, hell, why don't we just go and start our own business ourselves? And he just turned to me and went, all right. So at 1 o'clock in the morning at the US border, we decided we were going to go into business together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That'll be when you're national or international, that'll be the story that everyone will talk about. So that's so cool. And for like business partnership is so important, and who you go into business with. And for someone that's going to drive across the border to come pick you up, that's a sign that's someone you want to go into business with. So, right on. What unique perspectives and strategies do you both bring to the real estate, Canadian real estate sector, and what sets Foresight Recruitment apart from everyone else? You've touched on a few things, but go deeper into it.
Sure. So in terms of the perspective, kind of having worked in the UK, and we both worked on the contract side over there as well, so the kind of the short-term temporary side as well as the permanent side over here, we have an understanding of kind of the speed to market, but also the kind of the communication piece, as I touched on earlier. We're very blunt, we're very to the point, we're very honest, and we call things how we see it. Spade is a spade at the end of the day, and we don't sugarcoat things or beat around the bush. Where that comes into benefit is we've seen different sides of how the market works, from a saturated UK market to a not so saturated Canadian market. And there are different aspects within the industry. You can be a generalist, you can be a specialist, you can focus on one specific area, you can focus on the entire country. Like with me and Nick just focusing on our specific areas. So me living in Calgary, focusing on local Alberta and kind of Edmonton markets, and Nick living in Surrey and BC and focusing on Vancouver and kind of the lower mainland. Like we live in our markets. We are regularly attending events. So we sponsored the Vancouver Real Estate Forum. We sponsored the Edmonton Real Estate Forum. We're the title sponsors for the Calgary Real Estate Forum. We're sponsoring BOMEX. We are a gold sponsor for BOMA Edmonton. We are a mentorship sponsor for BOMA Calgary. Nick sits on the NAIOP board out of Vancouver, not the NAIOP board, so the ICSC board out of Vancouver, looking at industry events there. I'm working on a project with BOMA, sitting on one of their kind of boards at the moment, looking into industry career progression and that side of things. So we basically we live in the industry. We aren't just kind of servicing it, kind of dealing into it. We actually live in it. We're involved in it. We're doing everything we can to try and improve the industry. Like I'm trying to assist Westman Centre and Haskayne, assisting them with advice for students coming out of the real estate courses. Kind of they know where they want to go. They just don't know what they need to do to get there in terms of connecting with people on LinkedIn, selling themselves. I'm working with REIT Institute, supporting their efforts to try and get BIPOC students from high school into the real estate industry. And I'm providing them, again, similar to the university with the AFTRs, kind of how can I help keep those individuals engaged and kind of wanting to progress their career in real estate. So kind of the main difference between us and others is the fact that like we've been in our markets for a long period of time. We only work local. If it's outside of our area, we don't really touch it because like that's not our local market. We know what we can do. We know what we can't. And we are so embedded in the industry that we live and breathe it. We meet industry contacts. We see individuals on a weekly basis. We attend events. We socialize. And we're doing stuff outside of making money for the company that's a benefit for the industry. And in essence, kind of having our finger on the pulse, because and that's kind of what differentiates us. Because in terms of the hard processes that we do, it's no different from any other agency. Like every agency does the same thing at the end of the day. They all headhunt. They all go through their networks. They all have their own systems that they use. However many thousands and millions of people have got on it. But the difference is that me and Nick have been working in this industry for so long. We have a reputation that a prime example is we had one company reach out to an individual and they said, oh no, I'm not interested, because they'd done a bit of research themselves. Their website wasn't great. They'd got bad reviews on Google and that sort of things. I reached out to them about the same company after that company approached me to help them. And I had that conversation with the candidate and actually gave them an updated overview of actually what is happening, what's changed, why the reviews are bad, why the website's bad. And they went, oh, if I hadn't known that, I wouldn't have considered it. They went for an interview with the company, loved it, got hired, and said it was the best decision they ever made. And they wouldn't have done it if they hadn't have had an independent individual like myself with a strong reputation, that level of trust that they have in me because I've been doing this for so long, to give them that insight. And that is basically where we differ from others. We have that insight and we can give people that overview and have that reputation and trust from them that they will take our advice and move on it rather than kind of saying, you know what, I've seen some hearsay, I'm not going to go with anything.
Yeah, awesome. Very, very cool. David, I've done a deep dive on your website, and there's some key focus areas that Foresight Recruitment Group looks at. Can you discuss these key focus areas, particularly in terms of the accounting and finance, property management, leasing, and facility management, and operation recruitment? And why did you choose these specific areas?
Absolutely, yeah. So they're the key areas that we focus on because that's the area that kind of I myself and Nick have worked in kind of the last kind of 5-6 years in Canada. So they are the key kind of core areas of property management and real estate. So property management side of things, anything from kind of administrators all the way up to kind of directors, VP, C-suite level. So they are the individuals that manage the day-to-day. The operations side of things, so or the maintenance techs, the building operators, the ops supervisors, ops managers, anything that requires to basically continue the day-to-day running of the building and the maintenance of it. The leasing side of things, every building needs to be leased. It needs to have tenants in there. They need to get as much, also as high an occupancy as possible and a lower vacancy rate. So again, bread and butter of property management and real estate when it comes to kind of every company will either have their own leasing team or they will have third-party organizations and brokerages that support them. Same with the facility side of things. You've got larger companies like your BGOs who look after kind of ATCO and your Harvards who have kind of larger accounts over here for more facilities-based roles. And again, every building needs to be bought, sold, leased, maintained, managed, kind of repaired in essence. And on the accounting piece, like nothing would operate if budgets weren't done, if reports weren't run and rent wasn't collected. So obviously it's kind of the 5 kind of key areas of any operational business that runs within property management. But outside of that as well, we also touch on kind of sustainability. We have had legal roles in the past as well. So anything that kind of falls within the property sphere, anything that kind of makes a building tick or required to make it run for transactions, for communications, anything like that, even through to like marketing and events coordination. Like it's what we do because it's the space that we live in. And like, yeah, it's kind of what we know and what we specialize in.
Very cool. Very cool. Can you elaborate on your BOMA collaboration and how it contributes to the talent cultivation within the real estate industry?
Absolutely. So I'm currently working with a project team for BOMA Calgary and BOMA Edmonton, working and supporting them doing a careers guide for the industry. So we are looking to kind of get a multifaceted approach to the guide, and it's going to be kind of rolled out if all goes to plan, much like the BOMA building guide that does every year. So it will look into progression opportunities, kind of each key area or each key kind of job title from admin assistant, property administrator, senior PA, assistant property manager, PM, senior PM, GM director, VP, kind of what skill sets, what behaviors, competencies that you kind of need to have or that are desirable or beneficial at each area, what kind of a day in the life looks like, what the job duties and responsibilities are, to allow individuals to understand how they can progress their careers. It's linking to the majority of the universities and kind of secondary education areas, higher education areas. So your MRU, your McEwan University, U of A, U of C, Westman Centre specifically in their SATE, connecting kind of to all the main universities, kind of the courses they put on, how long they take, what different majors and minors you can do. It's connecting as well to the differences, kind of 101 of real estate, the differences between kind of third party and management, third party and ownership, I should say. RECA licenses, how long it takes, what it costs, professional development and continuing development. So your RPA, your CPM, your FMA, if people want to do their masters, it looks at again what you learn from it, how long it takes to do, the cost, the benefit it has for you and what you will learn on the job and how it will help you progress your career. And ultimately, it's designed for two specific reasons. One, to benefit those in the industry at the moment to understand how they can progress their career. And secondly, we want to try and roll it out into high schools and universities to actively market to the industry and encourage individuals to come into the real estate industry and property management industry via choice, not just fall into the industry like most people do. We want to make it so it's less of a ghost industry and more of a, oh, wow, I didn't know I could go in at the age of 18. In 5 years, 6 years time, I could go in at $50,000 at 18, and at 24, 25, I could be on $80,000 to $100,000. I could still do a university degree through the company I'm working with. They will subsidize some of the education costs for it, and I will come out with little to no debt at 25, 26, with 6, 7 years in the industry, and well on the way to a long-standing career with an education, and not have to kind of go through the process of getting education, then fall into the industry in 25, 26, 27, coming in with all that debt and starting from the ground up. If we can bring more people in and make them more aware that this is a sustainable, long-term career opportunity with so many multiple different tangents you can go down within the industry, as we talked on earlier, property management, leasing, operations, asset management, sustainability, accounting, like there's so many different areas you can go down. And if they can come at the age of 18 and not only increase the quantity, but the quality of individuals coming in, because they know and have an understanding of what they need to do straight from the off to develop themselves and progress their career, it will increase the number of candidates and potential employees in the industry, which will take the pressure off the industry in terms of how everyone fighting over the same individuals and bumping up salaries. But also it will increase the quality of the individuals coming in and the knowledge, the innovation, the ideas. So it will take them to the industry to the next level, in the ability to enable them to offer more services to clients, different services, different ways of looking at things. And that's something that, as we touched on earlier, kind of we're severely lacking at the moment of Gen Z coming in. So if we can kind of push that envelope and get those individuals to come into the industry earlier on, it will have a huge beneficial impact for the property industry for sure.
Amazing. This is why I had to have you on the show, because you're bringing so much value to the industry. You're affecting it in intangible ways, but in deep ways, because you're getting it. They're getting these people right at the beginning that and you're going to influence people that are going to be running the shows one day in Alberta and BC. So huge value there, and thank you for everything you do in the community. That's amazing. In a constantly evolving industry, what trends or changes do you foresee shaping the future of property management?
For me, being kind of an external third party in the industry, I'd probably say the staff for certain, like the employees that come in, the level of drive, the level of kind of ingenuity and initiative they can bring. That, for one, is definitely going to shape how fast things change and develop and evolve with, obviously, collaboration and innovation. Yeah, the innovation collaboration is definitely a key area, obviously, because like Silicon Valley kind of holds and hoards their IP, intellectual property, whereas our industry collaborates, and then shares everything. If one person moves forward, everybody else moves forward. So Aspen Properties and Carrot are a prime example of that. They developed their own software in-house, they product tested it first, they made sure it worked, and they kind of rolled it out across all their properties, and then brought it to the market and sold it to whoever else wanted to use it. So they've already got a tried and tested product there that everyone else can utilize. I think outside of that, kind of in the office industry, amenities and those sorts of features are kind of a key thing that people are focusing on. I was on a call on like a little seminar on LinkedIn yesterday that GWL ran, talking about the different office amenities and the differentiations between kind of downtown, suburban, different office class, as to what people expect. But I think the overriding kind of sentiment at the moment that people are focusing on is kind of what can I do in my work day that can take away the things I have to do when I get home. So that could be, is there a gym in the office? Is there a pool? Again, few and far between, if any. But is there a dry cleaners? Is there a dentist? Is there a place I can wash my car? Can I get my dog groomed, etc., etc.? So things they can take out of their personal time when they get home, if they can do it and incorporate it into their work time, like that's a huge benefit and kind of what a lot of companies are focusing on at the moment. So I think that's kind of a key area that's going to change. And then from there, who knows at the moment? There are so many different moving parts with our industry. I think industrial space outside of the downtown cores is still going strong, especially up in kind of Balzac here for Calgary. There's so much development happening up there. That's going to keep attracting individuals away from Vancouver. But all in all, yeah, I think the amenity space and kind of the staffing levels are going to be kind of the key areas that I'm seeing from my perspective at the moment.
Very cool. Very cool. What advice would you give aspiring property managers looking to find a job in the industry?
There's probably 2 or 3 different things. So first and foremost, make connections, network. If you aren't out there and you aren't talking to the individuals in the industry, you aren't networking and getting your name out there, like people don't know who you are. At the end of the day, your reputation, if you can get it to precede you, that's great. So what I tell to a lot of my individuals that I support is if you can find a champion that will kind of do the work for you in essence. So you connect with individuals via LinkedIn, hiring managers, directors, GMs, whoever it is that kind of could potentially provide you with support, or even kind of joining BOMA, joining the mentorship committee there and becoming a mentee and learning, joining the developing leaders committee there, or to the group and learning from leaders in the industry already who have gone through that and who are now proteges and now mentors and leaders who have come through that program. If you can find someone that can champion you and have a positive kind of view on you, if you're applying to go and work for their company and they're potentially going to be your manager, if they already have a positive view of you, that's your foot in the door already. You've got through the first hurdle. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when people move positions, they aren't going to be applying online for jobs. They're either going to move through their own network and connections, or they're going to do it through a recruiter because someone's reached out to them, they've headhunted them. So having a larger network already and having that kind of those personal relationships that you can kind of draw on and lean on and that will support you will help you progress much quicker in the industry, and also will give you insight and knowledge that you can lean on to ask someone for support. As well as that, continued development, professional development in our industry is key. The day you stop learning is the day you stagnate and you stop progressing. Look into things like your RPA, your CPM, your FMA. Like people look at doing masters and things like that. Absolutely, like they will definitely benefit you in the long run. Will it benefit you straight off the bat? Who knows? The jury's out on that one, but it's never something negative to have. And continued education and continue to master your skills and your abilities within your field will never stop being relevant because our industry is constantly evolving. And finally, just having that kind of positive, how can I help? What can I do to assist you attitude? Wanting to take on more responsibilities, wanting to learn more, get more exposure. Being that person that can be relied upon at the end of the day, that is a huge, huge difference into whether or not you get a job. Because personality at the moment is probably 60% of whether or not you get a job. If you can do it, great. If you're an arsehole, no one's going to hire you. If you're someone that they want to work with and you bring joy and bring benefit and bring value to them and just a genuinely nice person to work with, that will take you so far in the interview process. And quite often that can be the decider between whether or not you get a job because your personality is different from the other person that's interviewing. You could have the same experience and your connection with the potential employer and your kind of relationship with them and your personality that's driven you that far will be what gets you over the line to get that job. So I'd kind of say those 3 are kind of the key areas that I'd focus on. So networking, personality and kind of attitude to the job, and professional development.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, now for the fun questions. I got a little twist to one of them. So if you had the opportunity to recruit one famous historical figure to lead a property management team, who would that be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. Robin Williams would probably be my answer. So again, type of his personality, very much a people pleaser. Obviously, he had his demons that he battled, and obviously, which unfortunately won at the end of the day. But everything you see and read about him, and how he kind of ad-libbed and just kind of lit up a room and supported everybody around him, and just had that kind of, what can I do to kind of help you? What can I do to assist? Kind of going that extra mile, just generally a people pleaser. That sort of individual, and just how he connected with individuals. And I think that's the key piece. The connection he had with individuals was just sublime. The way that he would able to connect with you through the screen and in the roles that he portrayed, when he passed, to me, it felt like I'd lost a member of my family. I'd kind of associated him with so much of my youth kind of growing up, and the joy that he brought to me through his films and acting and everything else. If you can have that sort of personality and that sort of influence on people that you work with and you interact with day to day, you can't go wrong. So he, for me, would be the person that I would hire in a property management role, because I think he would bring joy to people and would be an excellent kind of relationship and individual to have with you.
That's awesome. That speaks volumes to who you are too. And he is a man of service. Like he's always thinking of others, looking to make others laugh and bring joy to other people's lives. My kids and I watched Mrs. Doubtfire the other day,
Really?
And that is such a funny movie. And he's just such a genius. He's one of a kind. I don't think we've ever seen anyone like him, and I don't think we ever will again. Super unique guy. Yeah, great choice. That's very unique. Thank you. If you could recommend one book for your fellow property or for property managers, what book would that be, and why?
I'd probably say Leaders Eat Last is a good one. Start with Why is a good one.
Yeah.
If I had to choose one, again, Rich Dad Poor Dad is another one. If I had to kind of specifically choose one, I would probably say Sean Kanungo, The Bold Ones. So after I actually saw him as a keynote speaker, and after seeing him as a keynote speaker, I read his book, and off the back of reading his book and listening to him to speak, that was what actually gave me the confidence and the kind of the encouragement to go off and start my own business and go off by myself. It talks about innovation, disruption, collaboration, and how anybody can be an innovator from any level. It's not about ideas coming from the top and you working on things. You can start to be an innovator and a disruptor in your own right. You could change how you operate and change how people see you and how they operate and interact with you. And if you can start doing that and create a ripple effect where others around you start to do the same thing, you can do that from any level. So you don't have to be a director or a GM to make change in an organization. You could be a property administrator. You could change a process, a procedure. You could change how a form that goes out, how you interact with clients, with tenants. Same at a property manager level. You could change how you interact with your staff or how they interact with others. And again, being able to be influential at that level, and have that kind of innovation and disruption at that level. And it's not disruption where you go into a room and you tell everybody that they're doing a bad job and they have to change everything. It's literally simple. It's small, simple steps. And it's not something where you completely turn an organization on its head and say, the way you've been doing everything is wrong for years. We're going to do it this way now. Yeah, you could start it by, say, literally by a simple form, a simple process change, how you interact with people. So I think that book for me was great because it allowed me to see a different aspect of things and kind of be like, you know what, I can actually do that. I can change what I do. I can influence things, even if it's a pebble to start with. A pebble starts and it eventually builds into a landslide. And that for me is kind of what has encouraged me to do what I'm doing now and to do a lot more in the industry and get involved in it and stuck in, because that would probably be the book for me that I would recommend.
I love it. I love it. The bold ones. Sean Kanuga, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I've got it. I've got it. So right on. Well, David, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. You have so much foresight into the industry, pun intended.
Thank you.
I'm just super excited to continue to watch Foresight Recruitment Group grow, continue to build a strong reputation in the community. The impact you guys are making already is tremendous, and I know you'll only continue. And I'm excited to just watch your journey and keep in close contact with you. That's for sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, thanks, David.
Take care.